Genesis gave us the beginning, the family, the promise, the story God set in motion. But Exodus shows us what God does when their beginning runs into real world pressure. A family becomes a nation becomes oppressed, and their cry rises from the weight of systems, fear, and impossible circumstances. This isn't just their story, it's ours. Because people today still know what it feels like to be stuck, to feel unseen, to carry burdens that feel too heavy to lift. And Exodus reminds us God hears, God remembers, God steps in. In Genesis, God formed a family. In Exodus, he forms a people shaped through deliverance, identity, and presence. This is the story of a God who breaks chains, confronts injustice, and leads his people into freedom, not just then, but now. Moses' story is messy. He's born under threat, raised in privilege, shaped by two cultures, and when he tries to fix injustice on his own, he fails. He runs, he hides, he builds a new life far from the pain of his past. But God meets him in the wilderness, in a burning bush that refuses to burn out, and calls him back to the very place he tried to escape. Because God often calls us to confront what we'd rather avoid. Many of us feel unqualified, unprepared, or unwilling. But Exodus shows us that God doesn't need perfect leaders, just willing ones. But Moses isn't the only character in this story. There's another force at work, one that resists freedom. Pharaoh represents more than a king. He represents the human tendency to cling to control. He fears losing power. He fears losing influence. He fears losing what he believes belongs to him. And so his heart hardens, not overnight, but over time. A hardened heart is a slow drift, not a sudden moment. Pharaoh becomes a symbol of every force, internal or external, that refuses to let God's people go. Sometimes the Pharaoh in our lives is a system, sometimes it's a situation, and sometimes it's us. And so God begins the work of breaking chains. The plagues aren't random acts, they're targeted confrontations. Each one dismantles a false god of Egypt. Each one exposes the limits of human power. Each one reveals the supremacy of the God who hears his people. And then the Red Sea, a moment where God makes a way where there is no way, a moment where freedom becomes visible, a moment where the past can no longer chase the future. Deliverance today may not look like parted waters, but it still looks like God making a way, breaking cycles, breaking lies, breaking patterns that keep us stuck. But freedom isn't just escape, it's formation. At Mount Sinai, God doesn't just free his people, he shapes them, he gives them identity, he gives them boundaries, he gives them a way to live that reflects his character. The Ten Commandments aren't restrictions, they're revelations. They show what a free people look like, they show what a holy people look like, they show what a loved people look like. Freedom without guidance becomes chaos. God's covenant reminds us that true freedom is found in living the way we were created to live. And then God does something even more intimate. He chooses to dwell with his people. The tabernacle is God's answer to distance. It's his way of saying, I'm not just the God who delivers you, I'm the God who stays with you. Every detail, the gold, the fabric, the layout, points to a God who wants relationship, not ritual. A God who moves with his people through the wilderness, a God who refuses to leave them alone. God's presence isn't confined to tents or temples. He fills ordinary spaces, homes, cars, workplaces, quiet moments. Freedom isn't just leaving something behind, it's walking with someone ahead. And that brings us to the heart of Exodus. Exodus isn't just ancient history, it's a mirror. It's the story of every person who's ever felt stuck, every person who's ever cried out for change, every person who's ever longed for freedom. And it reminds us the God who delivered then still delivers now. This is the freedom story we still need. But freedom is only the beginning. Next time, we'll see how God continues shaping his people, not just through freedom, but through formation. Leviticus opens the next chapter, a holy God drawing near, a people learning how to live with him, priests like Aaron and his sons standing between heaven and earth, and themes of holiness, sacrifice, and belonging. It's not just about rules, it's about relationship. It's about becoming it's about becoming the kind of people who can carry God's presence into the world. The story continues and formation begins. So this is my brief synopsis of Exodus. It's to me a very insightful, motivating story, and it just depends on perspective. So when you read Exodus, I would say watch this video first and then read it. Maybe it'll make more sense. It may be less confusing, and we just read it with correct interpretation about what applies today and what doesn't. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can hit me up in the comments. Um, like, share, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. We'll be stepping into Leviticus next week, but this is just again a little synopsis of Exodus from my perspective, my point of view, just trying to relate it to present day as well. So, reading the Bible is actually very interesting, at least in my opinion. So, read it with an open heart. I would say pray first. God, open my understanding. What is it I'm supposed to see? And then go from there. I don't believe you can go wrong from there if you have a pure heart. Again, as I said in the Genesis video, which definitely go back and watch that on my channel, have an open heart and just be available. Be ready to hear what thus says the Lord. Reading the Bible, again, in my opinion, is very interesting. It's just our posture. So if you want to start at Genesis, I did Genesis the other week. So just go, it's in a playlist. What if the Bible is one story? I find it very interesting, and I'm finding it very interesting doing this research, all this background stuff, just with the correct interpretation. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you. And I have shorts also with this Exodus journey. So go over the shorts, and I will see you the next time.